All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we have one of our successful clients and successful case studies here, Courtney Shaw. She's gonna explain a little bit about her previous journey. And yeah, we're just gonna have a conversation here, kind of like what led her up to having an online business, a specific digital marketing agency, and she's currently doing about $7,000 a month. She just barely joined us, I think about a month or two ago. And yeah, she's been crushing it here. So Courtney, without further ado, if you can give us a little bit of, just a highlight of your previous experience, and yeah, we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so originally I went to school for music therapy, which is essentially using music as a tool for therapeutic goals. So I worked specifically in psych hospitals, so pain management for people who were going through detoxes from like heroin and stuff like that, and then people who were schizophrenic, working on like reality orientation, so bringing them kind of like back into present. So definitely tough work. I got burned out during COVID. They basically just shut down anything that was like non-essential. And so I was like, I need something else. I moved into nonprofit work and started doing like, it was kind of a random job, but being their client services director and then turned into their marketing director. That's kind of where I realized like my natural skills and ability were like figuring out these like complex problems and solving them. And I just kind of had like a natural knack for Canva and like things that I just picked up. And so like I really basically everything from being in high school all the way up to that job, I had kind of just collected different marketing, you know, expertise, you could say, and just not.
Was it kind of like all around, or like one piece here, one piece there? It was all marketing, but it wasn't like a structured kind of thing, right? Is it just like a
Right.
couple pieces there, and then did it lead you to kind of like thinking of maybe I should pursue this as my career? Is that kind of the
Yeah, kind of. So I was basically, yeah, it was like little pieces. And I saw a TikTok of this one girl who was a mom and she was like making well over six figures and said, it's really not that hard to have an online business. And I started listening to her stuff and she just gave free advice on TikTok. So I took her e-course and essentially it made me realize through that nonprofit job that once I had my baby, I didn't want to be working a 9 to 5 anymore. And so I was like, this is totally possible. I can totally do this on my own. Mostly in like the media buying side is what I was interested in, is because
okay? So,
I
so
like,
you kind of
yeah,
wanted to like really like live the remote lifestyle dream, right? Be a stay at home, kind of work from there a couple hours a day. Nurture your kids. Is that kind of safe to say that was your vision there for yourself?
yeah, it definitely was because
Okay.
my job was so flexible and they let me even bring my baby to work up until like 7 months. So it wasn't like my job was, taking me away from my kid by any chance, but it was so stressful because he'd start crawling and I'd have to grab him. It was just so complicated. And I was like, there's
Okay.
got to be another way. And yeah, so that's kind of, yeah, definitely that reason.
Okay. Interesting. So kind of like, what would you say are, some of the things in your entrepreneurial journey? Was an agency, or was this business like is this like your first venture, or did you have a couple other ventures, side quests before making this decision here?
Yeah, no, this was definitely like my first business. I had started the LLC. I quit my job because I was like, I can 100% do this 2 years ago. And then I found out I was pregnant with my second that same month and was definitely fearful. And so I picked up like a couple clients doing like not what I wanted to do, but I did a website for somebody. I did social media marketing for someone else. But it was like more of like me chasing these people down and like getting,
Mm,
local deals that were very low end. And um, so I was definitely failing before I found my agency, because it just like wasn't sustainable the way I was going. And I realized it was like a capacity problem for me because I just genuinely couldn't do all the work necessary to start a business on my own. And I mean, even just like setting up the website and setting up like very minimal systems was so much. It like took me a year to just do that on its own. And so when I found Launch My Agency, I started in like the accelerator program. And even still, I was like, I just need more support. And so that's when I joined the CEO program. And I just kind of looked at it like as an investment in like people, like I want people to hire me to do exactly what you guys are doing for me. And so because it's a capacity problem, I didn't want to do the work that you guys are doing for me. And so that's why I joined.
Okay, wow. Well, first and foremost, this is your first business that you made successful. Well,
Yeah.
props to you because it's not easy, right? Like so many people launch a business, whatever, type of business there is. Most of them fail. I think like this failure rate is like 90+%. But you made it work. And that's one of the things as well as like why we personally went into the digital marketing agency space was because I'm not going to say it's easy, but you have the best chance of winning because it's a service-based business. It's not product-based, right? Sometimes, people start at an e-commerce store or Shopify, and now they have to buy $150,000 worth of product. And guess what? Sometimes, shipping delays, like people, or the product is completely incorrect. Now you're left with 150K of product. Now you're like, what do I do? Right. So you got to have a lot of money to try to make that work versus a business model where it's like a service base where you're delivering services to clients, right? Your only expense, what is it? It's your Wi-Fi and your phone bill, right? Pretty much, right? High level. So that's kind of like what was very attractive for us as well. So for you though, Courtney, like, is that kind of in the same direction of what you were thinking as well? For you is like, you probably had so many different options in this crazy world we live in, right? So many different businesses, everyone's saying do this, do that. What led you to make the decision on, no, I want to have a service-based business, and a specific in the service-based business, I want to have a digital marketing agency there?
Yeah. So really when I formed my LLC, I was actually, so it's like my first business, but I was going a lot of different routes with it, testing stuff out. So at the social media management, it's just so time consuming and like it's not worth the money. I originally wanted to do copywriting, and that's literally when I started it. Like ChatGPT came out, and I was on this like one Facebook group, and everybody was losing their clients. I'm like, well, this is like not sustainable. It is for good copywriters who have been in the business, but it's not something you just like break into overnight. And so I actually did look at drop shipping too on TikTok, and I got banned from the AliExpress because of like one keyword that I put in selling to a seller. So I didn't like go full force in drop shipping, but I was like testing out the waters to see if it was possible. And I was like, no, I can't do this with my business either. So really, I wasn't like necessarily sold on like any service really, but mostly like with media buying, it just kind of made sense for me because I was like, everybody needs to advertise. Everybody, and it's still blended in like the copywriting and having just just different type of messaging those are like the problems I like to solve. And so it kind of just made sense to move more in that direction of like messaging and media buying because it was like a low hanging fruit, I guess you could say.
Gotcha. Okay. Media buying. So for the people watching who may not know what media buying is, it's basically like, Google ads or Facebook ads. So when you go on Facebook, for example, when you scroll, you'll see a little, an ad that has a little sponsored message. That is media buying, right? So placing that ad to the right audience is what Courtney's talking about. Here's one of the things that a digital marketing agency, can provide as a service. So Courtney, like, I'm sure the viewers are also curious to hear like what's gone right or wrong, along the way. And what had before LMA, before Launch My Agency, before you discovered us, what kind of went, wrong, you would say?
Yeah, what was going wrong was I just could not get the leads in that were like solid. And part of that was on me, but also part of it is just like when you start something, like you have no social proof and nobody believes you. I even still like being where I'm at right now. Like I had a client today literally say, can I call one of your clients and ask them about their success? Because people just don't trust.
We're in something called a trust recession, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And, people are just tired of being burned. They bought all the courses or they bought, all the services from all these other digital marketing agencies who claim to be the best, they suck. People are just sick and tired of it. So in a way, Courtney, it's a good thing. And I'll
Mhm.
explain. I believe it's a good thing because if you're actually good, if you're worth, you know, if you're worth your salt, like people will find you. The right people will absolutely come. So we view this as a very great thing because at the end of the day, we want to be in a position where we bet on ourselves, where we bet on our skill set, where we bet on our team and our company and our brand, right? Versus trying to be like anybody else and like complaining, oh, why is it so hard? We view it as a really good thing because people are still going to be buying, by the way. They never stop buying. People need the services, people need the products, whatever it is that you have. Now it's really gonna, weed out the people who suck, and they're just gonna, it's gonna kind of like spit them out, and it's gonna take the people who are actually good, and they're just gonna crush. They're gonna 20x, 30x their revenue over the next few months as we go. So, in my eyes, I view this as a very good thing. This trust recession everyone's crying about, I think it's a great thing, right? And the same thing, Courtney, for you is like develop your skill sets, become the person that everybody wants to be like, or everybody, feels like they get a lot of value when they communicate with you and eventually your team, your brand, and, you giving them massive amount of value. So for example, if someone pays you $1,000, well, you should be thinking, how can I give this person $5,000 worth of value? Right now in their head, they're like, man, I paid only 1K. I got $5,000 worth of value. What if I pay 5K? Right? Will I get 5X that? Right. And then they upgrade or they ascend to the next thing that you have. So it's a great thing in my opinion.
Oh yeah. No, it definitely is. And I think that's just like challenge of starting in the beginning is like, you don't have that trust necessarily fully in yourself. And then also, you don't have the case studies or anything to like really back you up. And so that's kind of where LMA came in for me too, of like having some type of credibility by being backed by a team, which is just something I didn't have. Like for me, like I was confident that I could help in the messaging and I really understood the niche I wanted to work with, which is something I don't think like even finding contractors right now to help me, like it is so hard because they don't understand the niche that I'm in at all. And so, like being able to communicate that to the brands that I'm trying to work with has just also just been so much like that's increased trust too.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit specifically about that, right? You mentioned case studies, you mentioned
Yeah.
our 8-figure team, systems, processes. Like, we talk about it all the time to people, but sometimes they don't, they're like, oh, you guys are biased. And yeah, they're right. We're the owners. Okay, we get it. But let's hear from a client, your raw thoughts on you coming on as a client for Launch My Agency, LMA, and how your experience has been. I know you came in for, like you said, accelerator, then you upgraded to the CEO. You were like, I need more, right? You really loved what we had. So like, raw thoughts on like what specifically, how did Launch My Agency specifically help you? Any highlights, any lowlights?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, truthfully, when I started, it was like that first week of end of May, April of May, I was in the accelerator program. And like I've had a lot of challenges, but like Kyle, my coach and everything has like definitely like owned up to all the challenges. Like when I came in, there was issues with
Always
like
challenges.
always challenges.
It never
And so,
stops.
and so like my big issue was like the fulfillment side. And so
Yeah.
like and also the guarantee, like I was expecting my results to happen a lot quicker. But regardless of that, like, you're still working with me and
Yeah.
it's
I mean, you're
more
at
money.
7K a month, right? And you
Yeah,
just
I'm
started
very
like 2-ish months ago. I
yeah.
mean, that's like a 6-figure business right there. It's,
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
in there. And
yeah.
so that was kind of the thing of like, after I mean, I've been in it for a little more than 3 months, but like, post those 3 months, you're still working with me, knowing that I'm almost there kind of deal. And so like the challenges really have been like narrowing down the messaging for my type
Mhm.
of brand, which I exclusively am working with like natural beauty and wellness. And it's been a niche that Kyle's communicated has been newer to
Mhm.
launch my agency. And so there was like a ton of like back and forth on like, no, this messaging is not right. A lot of that. But it's been a learning lesson of like how you might think people know it's in your thoughts and everything. And just not that way. And so
Messaging is everything, right? Like literally people, and this is something that unfortunately so many people in the marketplace, they've messed it up for other people where, they make getting leads is very sexy, but it's not. It's like, how do we attract those leads from the right messaging? So it's very similar to, I don't know if you've heard of this quote by Abraham Lincoln. He says, if he had, I think it's something similar to the effect, if he had 4 hours to cut a tree, the first 3 hours and 50 minutes, he will just sharpen up the axe. Think of that, your messaging, your offer stack, your marketing monikers, your marketing message, right? All these things packaged up. From there, packaging it all up on the landing page, packaging it in your VSL, which is your video sales letter, your ad copies, your emails, right? Like packaging it first. So like the foundation first, which is not, unfortunately, it doesn't sound that sexy, but that's what really like that's what makes all the money, and that's what's going to help you build the business of your dreams versus just trying to get leads. Because the other way is like, oh, we'll just skip this messaging, we won't go back and forth, we'll just be like, we see this messaging, let's lock it and go. Well, then no one's going to be attracted to that, right? So that's for us is like, Courtney, we want to help you build this business out for years and years and years to come, and potentially even pass it down to your loved ones. That's our vision for you. So like, let's make sure the foundation is rock solid before we kind of move on to the next step, right? So that's why it's like, we want to really make sure that the foundation is just rock solid there for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think it was just so long in getting there because like once we launched the ads and everything for Get My Leads, I'm like overwhelmed with talking to all these people. And so, yeah, I mean, I started in May. We didn't really launch until August, but then once August hit, it was like, I've been having calls like nonstop. It's been a lot. And so
nonstop calls. Okay. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. And so it's been good. And a lot of them, like, I mean, it's still like even revising, like I've learned, my niche. I'm even realizing I might need to develop a new offer because the people that are coming to me are wanting something that I really don't provide at the moment. They're like essentially farmers market brands who are making less than $1,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Or even I've had like 7 calls of people who are making $0 a month. And so obviously like media buying and advertising is not where they're at because their website's not ready. They have no social media. Like they're not at a place.
Well, that could be your foot in the door, right? You can sell them a brand kind of like, a website, social media management. And then from there, the next step, once you crush that, the next step is like, well, a website is completely worthless if we don't send the right type of traffic to it, the right type of people, and then they can upgrade there, right? So you being at $7,000 a month, I think you can easily double your revenue like this, as long as you fulfill on the first, on the initial promises, that you've made with the help of the white label agency that you have. So yeah, that's kind of there. So if you can touch a little bit upon like, what else kind of like maybe surprised you along the journey of having Kyle or launch my agency, what was kind of like the 10% that really swing the 90% for you, when you were working here with us?
I think the sales support. So like I had done a couple e-courses in the past, like one more like on the skill-based stuff. So like on media buying and on copywriting and all of that. But what I was really lacking was like the sales part, which is the biggest part of getting leads. And so that and the coaching, because I think too, like it's a very much a mindset thing. Like, for example, I have this one friend who I'm actually bringing her in to work with me since I'm going to have a baby in like 2 months. And you're
going to have a baby in 2 months?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm due like November 23rd.
You're at $7,000 a month, brand new business. First business ever. You said about 3 months in, $7,000 a month. Yeah. You're getting all these calls coming in, so many people coming in. I mean, and you have a baby coming in. I mean, that's amazing. Yes. Right? Like most people, like literally, Courtney, like, most people like really underthink of how hard it is. Forget calls, even getting leads, the right type of leads. Like that's something for us. It took us like 2 years to figure that piece out, right? You just came in 3 months in, I believe. You're not only getting leads, not only getting calls, but you're getting clients, $6,000-7,000 a month. And now you have, like I said, you literally have potential to upsell these people. Usually for us, front-end revenue is only 50%. Back-end revenue is more than 50%. I think it could be 50-60%. There we strive for a balance of 50-50, right? Whereas most people, they just focus on the front end and they're like, that's it. For us, that's like the beginning because we want to ascend everyone and we can only ascend them just like yourself. I mean, actually, it's a perfect example. You came in for our front end program, right? The accelerator. You were like, oh man, this is exactly what I wanted. This is, I want even more. Well, then you upgraded, right? You wanted it yourself. We didn't, force you or anything like that. Same thing for your clients. That's how you really truly build a business, right? A real business is not reliant on new clients, but it's reliant on clients that are going to be with you for years and years and years to come. So that's exactly how we want to, the next step for you, Courtney, is going to be, now you're getting these clients, 7K a month. We definitely would probably want to get to what are your goals? Like, monetary goals, like what are some of the things that you want to achieve there? And then we can craft a game plan.
So I honestly, I want to get to like 30K a month in profit, not revenue.
There we go. Profit. Okay.
So because like, that's the thing, like I'm paying contractors and I'm looking at different solutions too, to like lower that cost, but also being fair and,
of course.
So,
yeah.
I realized like, 10K at the time seemed like a ton of money. And now that I'm in it, I'm like, but there's also just a ton of
there's some expenses. Exactly. That's why we want to scale that number. And that's where the back end comes in, right? Or just getting more clients, just spending more on ads, because that's just gonna, like you're barely spending, much on ads. You're already crushing there. So I would just, if I was you, just spend more money on ads. 30K a month, you can probably get there honestly next month. Just do the math of like what your cost per call is, what your close rate is. And it's all economics at that point, right? That's the biggest challenge is like we tell our clients, land your first deal and understand what it took to land that first deal. And then once you figure it out, I spent XYZ dollars. I closed XYZ clients. Well, if I just keep spending and I can keep closing like this, you're good, right? So, that's usually the structure. You can 30K a month profit. You're probably looking at 50K gross. Because the more you scale, like the more margins do go up until about 150K a month. So, you want to be around 55 to about 65% profit margin, which is pretty good considering you have other people working for you. They're doing most of the heavy lifting for you there. So, in the next few months, I think you can definitely get
definitely. Yeah. And I think too, like with it, I mean, it really just is a mindset thing because like what I was saying with my friend, she just wants to work for me. And I told her, I was like, you can start your own business. You can do all this. Like, I'll guide you through it kind of deal. And she's like, no, I genuinely, I will send you the leads that I get and I'll just work for you. It really just isn't for everybody.
Wow.
Because you do have to put out fires. Like my first client, Kyle's been helping me work through him because I sold myself short. I offered $1,000 per month for media buying, which is like very low.
Very low, yeah.
And he has called me and texted me every single day, this client. It has just been a headache and I've realized like what I got myself into.
Yeah.
And so I realized though, like that's because of my own fault. Like it's a learning lesson, but I realized like, if you sell yourself short or you work with people with a lower mindset and they're not seeing that growth, like that's going to affect your business because right now, like most of my time is consumed by that one client versus all the other clients that are like not
we're paying you more as well, right? That's usually the case. That's always what happens, right? People who pay the least have the most amount of, that's why we don't even work with anyone who would like at least 2,500 is the bare minimum for us. We won't even entertain it. Like anything below 2,500 is what we've seen is like the problems and all these things go up. It's like we have clients literally who pay us like 100K plus, the best clients ever, right? Literally there's like a meme, pretty famous one on, Instagram. It was kind of like the $500 client will like give you all these problems and the 50K client will be like, please send invoice. And then as soon as you send it, it's like paid, thanks. That's literally how they are because they know where the value is. They're looking for that versus the other people, $500 for them is, the end of the world. So that's the thing about it is like, again, the offer, the messaging, we want to position it in a way where you can start to work with the clients who are willing to pay you the higher budgets versus if you just kind of skip this area, right? If you just kind of like go through this fast, now you're going to attract a lot of these broke clients, right? So we just want to say no to them and just focus in on the bigger clients that you kind of have there. Cool. Awesome. So like for you specifically, what do you feel like is next for you from here?
So it's interesting with with having these 3 kids, my husband and I were talking to, and he actually was starting his own marketing company, in order to like get the same type of profits. And so he's a firefighter and with him, like he's off 4 days and he's been able to like that's how I've been able to take all these calls and all that, because I schedule it around his schedule when he's home. But really the goal is like, I I realized how much of a passion I had of helping people be successful. And it's hard to create that in a regular job. And so like with this job, I feel so empowered being able, there's like, I mean, even with music therapy, it's a helping profession, nonprofit's a helping profession. But I think this is like definitely where I feel like the best, because I get to see these founders that I like, for example, the one I'm in the process of closing. Her family is a family of tea farmers in Kenya. She moved here and she has a tea farm, and she donates money to pregnant women in Kenya who are struggling, and also the tea farming community, and giving back profits of her tea farm and business and all of that. And so like being able to help businesses that have passion and mission is like very important to me. And so I think it's really just like, for me, I want to narrow down into focusing on businesses that have those same alignments of like helping and everything. Yeah.
Amazing. Love that. It's like a mission that is bigger than you, right? Because
Yeah.
like even us, I remember honestly in the beginning, we are just motivated for money. We
Yeah.
didn't make anything because we were like look so selfish looking, right? But once we were like, all right, we have some of these skills, let's just help people. We literally, Courtney, we got to a point where we just got so sick and tired because we didn't make a single dollar, but we were learning a lot, right?
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, you know what? We have skill sets. We were just hopping on calls, we're just helping people, and then they're like, well, how do I work with you? And we're like, what? Now they're asking us,
Yeah.
right? So everything flipped, and I think we did 24K in like, I think it was 10 days, our first 10 to 12 days of us ever launching, of us first getting our first client to, 10 days later, we did like 24K. So it was like, whoa. But then before like 8, 9 months, we we're just struggling every single day, couldn't land anything because it was like our mindset shift that we were like, let's just start helping people,
Yeah.
and we realized one very important lesson in life: money is just a pure byproduct of the value that you provide. So why would you try to optimize for a byproduct? Makes no sense, right? Money is just a byproduct. So focusing on the value, delivering value to people, money is just going to be thrown at you. That's just what it is, right?
Definitely. I think that's definitely what's been like changing in my, like, I have no sales experience. And so being on these calls, like I was expecting to not land them as quickly. And I realized, yeah, it's because of the value-based type offer that we're
But it's
doing.
because, Courtney, you mentioned something about the messaging. You said it was a lot of back and forth. It's because of that. It's because of that, right? And that's the thing where most people, they're like, they're so eager to launch, or they're so eager to get leads. Well, it's like, do you want your sales calls to be like very hard and very brutal to the level where no one buys from you, or to a level where you're, Courtney, where you're saying, you're like, man, this is easy, right? Yeah. Yes. Sales is a conversation. And most people, unfortunately, they have this misconception of where it's like, you have to chase people, you have to do all these things. Now there's a level of follow-up. It's all leadership based follow-up, of course, but it's never like chasing. If someone doesn't want it, cool, like no worries. We're going to get so many other people coming in, right? The line is so much longer than like we're good, right? But that only comes in once you have that value, once that messaging really penetrates the market, the brains of the market that you have, and they're going to line up to you. Like now you become kind of like a doctor, right? A doctor is not going to go in and chase patients. They're good. Like they're at the office. If a patient wants to come, they come. If not, someone else will come. No problem, right? But that only happens because of the credibility, the authority of who that doctor is, because they put in that effort of becoming that person and becoming that company or whatever it is, right? Same exact concept, right? Same exact concept.
And that was one insight too that I realized, like your doctor analogy, it reminded me of a conversation Kyle and I had. I mean, even Apple like doesn't do their own like media buying or like digital marketing. They have a digital marketing agency doing it for them too. Granted, they only have one client, which is Apple, but it's amazing like how, yeah, with marketing, every business has it, and the ones that aren't using it are the ones failing. So yeah.
Yeah, same thing. We landed Porsche as a client. Same thing, they just outsource it. And this is where people like Courtney, where people like us, or people like whoever's watching, you may have an agency, or you may be thinking about launching an agency. You can come in and provide for these people, right? Courtney just started about 3 months ago now, 7K a month already. And, she can literally double her revenue just like this. What's that deal size for the tea company that you just said that you're in the process of closing?
Yeah, so it's only 2,000 a month for media or for like meta ads.
One second. You just said only 2,000 a month.
Well,
You just
I
started a
raised,
business, only 2,000 a month, which is amazing. But like it's
yeah,
it kind of shows you like what's possible for the people watching who may be thinking like, I don't know if people would pay that much, 2K a month. Well, when we say it, sometimes people are like, because we say it all the time, they're like,
yeah,
oh yeah, you guys are biased. But this is coming from someone who just launched a company, brand new company, right? With the
yeah.
help of our team, with the help of our systems and processes. 2K a month for her is just like, yeah, no worries. It's peanuts now, huh?
Well, now because I realized like when I was looking for contractors to help me like on the back end, that's what they're charging now sometimes, some of them. They're like, yeah, I usually I take 2K and these deals are like 10K for, the agencies. And so I'm realizing like not that I'm selling myself short because I think you need to start somewhere and, grow, but it's just so funny how like there are people that are willing to pay a lot more just for that expertise and like the results. I'm not there yet because I've only been really in business for a couple months. But yeah. But it's interesting too because for her 2,000, which is fair, is like half of her revenue right now. So it's a hard decision for her to make. And invest in her company in that way. So
Completely.
really,
What would you
yeah.
say is your pipeline size right now? Yeah, I know you right before we hopped on here off camera, you were like, yeah, I just got off a call, potential close, right? They had like a little objection there. What's like your overall pipeline roughly? How much money do you have in your pipeline right now from the
Um,
ads that we launched for you?
yeah, so I have that 7K closed, and then right now I've got 4 or 5 clients that I'm like nurturing right now, that are all going to be about 2,000 a month. And then I've got a huge client next Monday who's like retailing in Target, and they're making like 30K revenue right now, and they want to scale up. And so that one that they keep rescheduling on me. So that's been a challenge and interesting because they've rebooked this call like 4 different times with me. But if I can land that one, that's like my Porsche for sure.
Well, what are you going to price that at? Like 5K a month or something?
you know, I I would want to. However, I looked like on my booking thing, they said that they're wanting to pay 2 to 3K. And so kind of how I think I'm going to go about it is have a retainer fee, and then as they increase their ad spend, increase my retainer.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they say 2 to 3K on their application, they can
Yeah,
easily do five.
you
Now,
can
it's
do five.
your
Okay,
job.
good to know.
It's your
Yeah,
job though, right? To
yeah,
position everything you have to make it such a no-brainer for them. Whereas like if I just invest 5K, like they can get XYZ in return, right? Of course.
right.
So I think, you're looking at easily 5K, but if not 3K at least. So currently, I mean, 10K from the other clients, 3K from this client, you're looking to add on an extra 13K in revenue. Like you're already going to be at like 20K plus a month. You want to
Yeah,
get to 30, like you know what I mean? Like you have that
we're very
pipeline
close.
already. You're very
Yeah,
close already, right? And then again, this is just front end revenue. Remember, I told you
yeah,
back end, and this is something that again we can work with you a little bit more hands on when it comes to Kyle, and I'll make sure the team is working with you on to make sure your back end upsells are happening because your front end revenue should only account for 50%. So
mhm,
you being at 20K, for example, like next week you could be at 40K next month just from the current clients.
yeah,
Forget the new opportunities, but it's the
yeah.
current clients. Now the next thing is going to be making sure we retain these clients, right? So that they're retaining lifelong clients for you, and then of course upselling them on the back end. So yeah, things are looking super exciting for you. So just I want to be respectful of your time, and I'm sure the viewers are getting a lot of value here as well. What are some of like your closing thoughts here that you'd want to say?
Yeah, I would say it's really like just to have an open mindset. I learned to be delusionally optimistic, and that's kind of what changed the game. Like it wasn't an option for me to fail at this business, and I think that's what's made me successful because regardless of challenges within the program, within my own personal life, like finding a way and just having the grit to keep going. I really just think it's a consistency thing. Like the reason people fail is because they quit. And if you don't quit, you're going to make it. It's just about the timing of when you're going to make it. And some people make it quicker than others because, they find programs like yours quicker. Like I wish I found your program last year. It'd probably been way better for me. But that wasn't my case. And it took me but at the same time, I might have not seen the value because it took me a year to
Completely.
see
Yeah. You might have been skeptical, like so many people watching this, right? They might have been like, I don't know if this is real, or I don't know if this is for me, whatever. But the same thing goes is time is the most important resource. It's opportunity cost. Everyone forgets about that, right? They're just like, oh, this is what it costs. No, it's so much money. But it's like, okay, the time, every single person we talk to, by the way, who we talk to after 6, 7, 8 months, they're in the same spot, literally.
Oh yeah.
And then we come to them and like, told you this. And the funny, or not the funny thing, but the unfortunate thing, where it's kind of sometimes it's sad and kind of this is exactly what we told you, right? Right. 7 months ago when we would have the conversation where they're like, oh, I'm so skeptical, or they just don't move forward. We're like, cool, no worries. You don't have to, but at least make some sort of decision. You don't have to come with us. You go with someone else, but make some sort of commitment on your end, or else you're going to get XYZ consequences. And then come to find out 7, 8 months later, same exact spot that they're in, same exact situation, same mindset, same bank account, same everything. And we're like, didn't we just tell you that a few months ago? And then they're like, yeah. And then they're like, all right, I want to get started now. And they're like, okay, let's do it.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Or, they just wasted 7 months of their life. They could have been,
exactly what I did.
3 months, right? 3 months, you're potentially looking at a 20K month this month where you close these few deals. What's the opportunity cost on that? And that's just 20K in 3 months, for example, that you've been able to achieve. What about 3 months later? Maybe you could be at 50K, 100K. You literally change the whole trajectory of not only your life, your kid's life, but your client's life as well. So it's having that domino effect, but most people are just kind of stuck in their own old ways, and we can only help them so much,
No, that's true. And the last thing too, going with that is, oh my gosh, the pregnancy brain. Also you don't need it all figured out. And I think that's what stalls people is trying to be have all the answers and having everything figured out before you start. And I have learned so much just doing that I wouldn't have learned in any course or anything, which is what I feel helped me in this program is I didn't have a choice to not do the things you were telling me and figure it out. I just had to figure it out and do it and fail a couple times. And that has been what's been making me successful now is just doing and not learning everything.
That's exactly what we tell people, right? We're very straight up on the onboarding call. We tell them, look, we can only help you to the level that you allow us to. If you're going to be resistant to it, we can't. You know what I mean? We're not superheroes, right? We're human beings as well, but we've done this over and hundreds of times at this point, right? And Courtney took the coaching. She took the level of a little bit of belief shifting, maybe a little bit of things that are a little uncomfortable. You're like, man, I don't remember. I don't think this may be the best option, but you just still trusted us, right? Same thing. I remember even my own journey. My mentors would tell me to do something, and I was in my head, I was like, I disagree. But then I was like, let me just do it because they're telling me. And then I would do it. And I was like, I'm so glad I did because that was a belief shift that I had, right? So Courtney, you resemble literally, are some of our top clients of how they think, the clients that are making 300, 400, 500K a month with this exact same program. So yeah, really looking forward to your journey. Last but not least, a lot of people who are watching this video here, watching your journey, they may be a little skeptical. They may be wondering launch my agency. Is it the real deal? Or what can they expect? So from your perspective, what are some of the things that you would say to someone who's maybe on the edge, off the cliff, and they want to make the leap, they want to do it, but from you, what would you say to them?
I would just say in there's going to be so many opportunities. And so whether it's this one or any type of opportunity, you just have to say yes. And additionally too, in the program, I've had my own personal setbacks, but I've seen that you guys have made it right every time. And so that I think is the difference in some programs we'll just double down and be like, no, it's your fault. And I haven't experienced that in this program, which has been refreshing because, we would have ideally both wanted to have launched my ads probably back in July or June. And that wasn't the case for my business. And by just continuing and trusting and going through it all, it's worked out. And so I think that it's just more of like, if you're on the fence, just do something, because doing nothing or waiting around to get all the answers is going to do you no good. Or you'll be embarrassed.
You'll never have all the answers. Don't
Yeah,
care
you
how
won't.
much research you want to do. There's always, I mean, people want all the answers and they forget, like, they want to make profit,
Yeah.
which, if you want to make profit, you have to take risk. Like, it's kind of like the law of gravity, right? If you
Yeah.
jump, you come back down, because law of gravity is same thing. If you want to make a profit, you have to take a risk, right? People just want to complete, like, no risk taken, then maybe business is not for you. Just being
Yeah,
very
no,
honest with you.
nothing's free. And it's how it is in marketing. Like, I have to tell these people that I'm on the phone with, like, you have to invest money to get money back. It's just the same way. It's just even anything, like, you have to invest, say you want to work out more, you have to invest in workout clothes if you've never worked out. Like, there's always an investment in any type of new thing that you're going to do.
Absolutely.
It just depends on, like, figuring out how and how you're going to do it.
There we go. When there's a will, there's always a way, right?
Yeah.
So super appreciate you, Courtney. I know you're closing deals and just like crushing with your agency. So super appreciate you for hopping on here. And I'm sure a lot of people can resonate. For anyone watching who's maybe like a little bit on the fence, just do it, or just do something else. Like, do something with, with whatever that you've been
Yeah.
putting off. It doesn't have to be business. It could be your health, your relationship, whatever it is. Just go for it. Don't hesitate, guys. And whoever's interested in potentially working with myself, my business partners, here at Launch My Agency, Kyle, who's Courtney's personal accountability coach, and her CSM, just go ahead and book your call down below. There's going to be a link there wherever you're watching, just to see if we can even help. About 30 to 35% of people we can't do much for. But if you're in a boat where you want to launch and scale your own online business, specifically a digital marketing agency, and have potentially similar results to Courtney, if you do the work, right? Nothing's going to be, you just press a button and that's it. No, there's going to be some effort required on your end, of course. And then pair it up with our 8-figure team, our resources, our case studies, leverage everything that we've built over the past 7-8 years of our life, and just literally take it as your own and have potentially some of the success that Courtney's having, if not more, if not a little bit less, wherever you are in your journey. So if you're looking for something like that, a complete done for you system, go ahead and book your call down below with someone from my team. And for the rest of you guys, we'll see you guys next week. All right, take care.
Thank you.